Okay, good morning. Thanks, Lauren. Would also like to say good morning to all our Facebook live guests this morning. Thank you for tuning in virtually. We'd invite you to come out and join us. We're a great organization and we'd love to have you in person here. But realizing some of you couldn't make it, and thank you very much for joining us. We're going to start off this morning with some community business. Oh, one reminder. The IHOP here's done a great job of providing food and other things for us here. So what we're going to make sure we do is IHOP, therefore I eat, I tip. We have some great waiters here, and we'd certainly like to encourage you to tip and make them a part of this. All right, our first committee business, we're going to have Lorraine come up for us this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Glad to see everybody after a week of news. I'm so happy to be in a room full of people, like people. But thank you all. I want to thank everybody for helping with membership. It's growing. We started out with 25 members. In the beginning of the year, we have up to 200 now. So, you know, they're not all here in this room, but they're here in spirit. But just thank everybody. We do have name tags in the back. If your name tag is there, you can take it home and keep it. And I appreciate the office. They're making phone calls and sending notes. And just thank everybody for helping with membership, because we're one group, one homogeneous group. Thanks.
Thank you, Lorraine. Elaine is going to talk about our new diversity committee. She has a lot of information we'd like to get out to you. And Elaine?
Thank you. As a part of our state organization, we feed in to our state organization and our local organization as Democrats. We will be having a diversity and an inclusion subcommittee. So what does that mean? You look around the room and you say, well, we're a pretty diverse group. We've got all our bases covered. But you and I both know we never really have our bases covered, because there are many people that we really need to reach out to, people who feel marginalized, people who for whatever reason have not joined in spirit and body with us. And those groups could be ones that we haven't even thought about. Certainly, one of the communities that we'd love to reach out to would be to include more of our Latino and Hispanic population, to look at different faith-based communities, not just the ones that might be represented here. Also look at our refugee and immigrant populations, to look at our LGBT communities, and find out how do we as Democrats reach every single part of Fayette County to be certain that everyone has a voice and everyone feels represented. So we have some plans in the way, sort of in the works, and what I need each of you to do is, if you know of a group, can think of people, where do we need to reach out so that we are not, in fact, just talking always to ourselves? So we want to be inclusive and be certain that we're not missing anything. So this is a new committee chair position for me, but I'm excited about it, and I'm excited only because all of you know of people that we should include. Not necessarily that they have to be members, but they have to be people who are represented at the table of making decisions and having their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
One thing I forgot, there's index cards on the table with a pen, and if everybody would just put one suggestion down, one suggestion for helping with membership, getting members, anything in the world, and you don't have to sign it, just put a suggestion down, because we need help. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is our charity of the month for Mother's Day. We're going to hear remarks from Miss Hortense Jackson with the Fayette Promise Place. Come on up, please.
Well, good morning, everybody. Again, I'm Hortense Jackson, and I'm with Promise Place, and I am delighted to be here this morning and honored that you have selected Promise Place to be the charity that you've selected. Last year, you provided us with some books for the children, and the children really enjoyed that in the shelter. For some of you all who may not know what Promise Place is, we are a state-certified domestic violence shelter organization located here in Fayetteville. We have satellite offices in Spalding and in Upson and Pike counties. And so what we deal with every day is people that come to us who are usually in a traumatic kind of state of mind, who are fleeing from abuse. You'd be amazed. I have been doing this work for 14 months now, and it's really been life-changing for me. We have a real serious problem. It is a public, it is a public kind of problem, a crisis all over our state and even here in Fayette County. We have seen between 2017 and 2018 a 50% increase in the number of clients that have come to us seeking help. We have a 15-bed shelter safe house here in Fayette County. Last year we saw 101 women and 130 children. Now think about that, we only have a 15-bed shelter. So our shelter is full most of the time. What we're also seeing is that the thing about domestic violence is that it does not, it's across every socioeconomic kind of group or whatever. It's not just men that are abusing women, there are women that are also abusing too as well. So our goal is to, because we are an emergency shelter, is to try and keep the victims safe and to provide for them a safe place. And so we encourage you all to, help us with our effort. One of the biggest things that we're doing is a lot of awareness. We're in the middle and the high schools because we want to teach the middle and high school students how to have healthy relationships. What does one look like? What are the warning signs? So we are actively involved. And this year we would have actually touched over 5,000 students. So that is one of the major ways that we're doing that. But again, I want to thank you all for your efforts and supporting us, and we are delighted to be here this morning.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to say that if you have a donation, if you forgot to bring it this morning, because some people have already said, oops, I forgot, please bring it to the office. We will collect your donations at the office, and then we will take them to Promise Place once we have, once we have a good connection together. Okay? And I'm sorry, the list of what Promise Place needs, particularly right now, is on our Georgia Fayette Dems website. So have a look at that. Bring your things to the office. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much. And as we said, it is a very important organization that we fully support. Next up is our featured speaker for today. Our featured speaker is Mr. Amilcar Valencia. Amilcar is the Executive Director of El Refugio Ministry at Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia. Amilcar was born in El Salvador. He earned his bachelor's degree in theology from the University of Central America. And as a result of his passion and involvement in the immigrant rights movement, they started this organization a few years ago. He's going to come up and tell us about the organization and give us some updates on it. And from all of us in FCDC, let's give him a warm welcome. Thank you. Just press this to go. Okay, perfect.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here talking to you about the work of El Refugio. For those who, I know it's a Spanish word, it's sometimes hard to pronounce. El Refugio means the refuge in Spanish, and is an organization that supports people who are facing detention and deportation and their loved ones. You probably are familiar with what's happening across the United States in terms of detention and deportation right now. We've been working for 9 years now, serving the family members who visit their loved ones at the Stewart Detention Center. The Stewart is one of the largest immigration detention center in the Southeast, and it's actually the fourth largest detention center in the United States that house immigrants for deportation process, who are in the deportation proceedings. So we have a hospitality house where we welcome family members. You can see the picture there. That's our new house that was donated to us last year. And we have 15 beds as well as like trying some similarities with the shelter, which is what we do. We offer shelter, we offer lodging for families who visit their loved ones at the Stewart Detention Center. For those who are not familiar with South Georgia, Lumpkin is located in Stewart County, which is about 45 minutes from the city of Columbus, Georgia. And it's very remote. It's about 2 hours from here. And families who have loved ones detained not only travel from the Metro Atlanta area, but they are also travel from North Carolina, South Carolina. We have guests at Refugio from New York, from Maryland, from Texas, from California, who visit their loved ones here at the detention center in Georgia. So that's the first thing that we do. We offer hospitality, we offer lodging for families, food, friendships, comfort, and everything is for free. The second thing that we do is we visit people who are detained at the Stewart Detention Center. We talk to them. We do volunteers every weekend, and now every week we have a group of people who go down to the detention center and talk to the people who are facing detention and deportation. And the main thing is to learn about their stories, to learn about their struggles, to offer some support and friendship, and also find ways to connect them with other resources in the community that might be able to assist them in their immigration case. Unfortunately, the pro bono programs for immigration are limited. There is one program in Lumpkin run by the SPLC, and they do offer pro bono representation for people in detentions. And I'll talk more about some of those statistics in a minute. And the third thing that we do is we offer we educate people about immigration detention issues, because even though it's something that we hear in the news, sometimes we don't have kind of grab the idea exactly what's happening in the United States and how it affects people in our community. So we do presentations, and I'm invited to talk to different groups, faith groups, and other civic groups to help people understand a little bit better of these detention center and immigration policies in the United States. So I want to share a few things about Refugio, and one of the first things I want to share is a success story, and I want to focus on this because there are few success stories at Stewart Detention Center. This is detention center that has largely deported a lot of people from the Georgia, and it has about 96, 98% of the people who are detained there are actually ended up losing their case for many reasons. But this is the story of Emily Guzman, who had her husband detained, as you can see in the picture, at Stewart Detention Center. He is from Guatemala and was detained by immigration in a restaurant. They were dining with his family, and was detained by the immigration there, and taken into custody and taken to the Stewart Detention Center. They are from Raleigh, from Durham, North Carolina. So Emily drove about 8 hours every month, at least once a month, to visit her loved one, Pedro, at Stewart, with her daughter and with the son, Logan, at the time. And he spent about 19 months in detention. And finally, he was able to be released, and last year he actually became a U.S. citizen, which is a good thing that some people have that amazing opportunity to do so. But we know that the system is broken, that we know that we keep putting many people in detention and deportation proceedings every day and every year. We're deporting about 40,000 people from the United States. This is just to show you a little map of the immigration detention places or the detention centers or holding places where we have immigrants. As you can see, the map is everywhere. I mean, it's not just places in the south. You can find detention places everywhere in the United States. Some of those are big for-profit detention centers that house immigrants, like the Stewart Detention Center. But some of those are the localities, the city jail, the county jail that rent a space for immigration to detain immigrants. So you can find those everywhere. This statistics here, this is just to show you the increase of immigration detention through the years since 1996. In 1995, 1996, we were detaining less than 6,000 people in the United States. In 2000, and there is a huge peak, as you can see, 2009, Congress mandated to immigration to actually have a certain number of people detained every day, or at least to have a certain number of beds available to detain immigrants, and that number was 34,000 people. Today, we're detaining about 51,000 people in detention immigration centers every day. That includes about 48,000 immigrants in different facilities, men and women in detention centers and family detention centers. This number, 51,000, does not include the number of people who are placed, kids, unaccompanied minors who are placed in shelters. So the number is actually bigger of the people who are facing, who are in deportation proceedings. And how that happened, how it happened, how we came to detain so many people in the United States. Well, there are many things that happen. One of the main things that allow the increase of detention in deportation proceedings is the agreement with localities. Immigration has been working very closely with localities to have agreements to detain immigrants when they are detained by for minor infractions, like no driver's license or broken taillight. And those agreements allow the police to detain people and hold people for immigration. There is something that is called 287G program. You probably have heard about this program. And this program basically trains the sheriff officers to detain people in the county to initiate basically the immigration detention proceedings, to the deportation proceedings from the county. And there are 6 counties in Georgia that have these programs, and there are many other programs. I mentioned the bed quota, and unfortunately during those years, the Obama administration inherited a system that was already built to detain people and increase the detention and the deportation of many immigrants. Today, as I mentioned, we have about 51,000 people in detention proceedings. The Trump administration has done everything they can to utilize this machine that was already built and ramp up the detention and deportation of immigrants. As you can see, one of the first things that they have done was to cancel TPS. For those who you're probably familiar about TPS, certain countries have this protection. And DACA, the Muslim ban. I mean, there's so many things that we can just go on and list the things that this administration is doing to, further enforce and targeted immigrants in our communities. Today, they have the budget, again, to detain this number of people. It is expected that they will continue asking for more money every year. And this is the case that they're doing. They try to make a sense that we have a crisis, and for that reason we need more money to build more detention centers and put more people in detention center. That's the logic that they're using. And of course, Congress every year is in this position of approving this budget. So I think this is an opportunity for everyone here. Those who are very engaged with the process, the democratic process in the United States, to actually demand that our representatives don't approve this budget for more expansion of detention. I can just go on and on about all these things, and just mention that some things that we don't talk about are the root causes of migration. We talk about the effects of how we see it today, and we talk about what is it that people are fleeing from their homelands. It's been reported by the Homeland Security Department that today is more than 100,000 people who are detained at the border seeking for asylum every month, which is it's an exorbitant number of people who are doing that. We visit asylum seekers in the detention center. We talk with them, and we know that they're fleeing or they're coming to the United States because they need protection. I have visited so many people in detention. One of them is, I won't say his name, but he left El Salvador because he was fleeing from the gun violence there. His brother was disappeared by the gangs, and his family feared that he will actually, will also be targeted by the gangs. So they actually sent him to the United States. He came to the United States, was detained at the border, asked for asylum, and had some proof that his brother was disappeared, was killed, and a letter from the bishop in El Salvador, some proof of that. And even though he has that, he wasn't able to get asylum. Was detained for 9 months in the United States and deported back to El Salvador. He contacted me back when he was in El Salvador and said, I can't be here. I don't, I'm not safe. I can't live in my country. I need to leave. So he decided to leave again 2 weeks later, or like a month later after he was deported, and tried to cross the border again, was detained at the border and was sent back to the United States. He joined the caravan again in Honduras to try to make it to the United States again, but hopefully wasn't able to actually get in twice and get protection in the United States. Now he's in Mexico and is trying to find a job and support his wife, who is now in Honduras because she's also not safe. With their daughter, who is 3 years old, said, I need to find a job to pay the diapers and to pay for milk. So this is the reality that why immigrants are leaving Central America, and why is it that we're having so many people, and the strategies that or the policies that we are using as a country are only increasing the issue and not allowing people to stay in the United States. Detention, real quick. Detention in the United States is expensive. We're spending a lot of money, billions of dollars in detention. And for every person we detain, we spend about $135 per day. And for family detention, we're spending about $320 a day for women and children in detention. 72% of the overall population in detention today, those 51,000 people in detention, are in a for-profit detention center, which means corporations are making money for the detention of individuals. Concerns with detention, it's expensive. No legal representation is given to any immigrant who is facing deportation. No services are provided to them, and the big problem is that keeps growing. So the map of detention keeps expanding. In Georgia, we have 4 detention centers. Stewart is one of the largest ones. We have Irwin County Detention Center, which is in Irwin County, Wasilla, Georgia. Folkestone Detention Center in Folkestone, Georgia, is about 5 hours from Atlanta. Very close to Jacksonville, actually being very close to the Florida border, and Dayton, which is the new detention center, very close to here in Lovejoy, that is housing about 100 people for immigration purposes. Georgia is the 4th state that detains more people. That is not a border state. California, Texas, and Arizona are the other 3 that detain more people in the United States. I know this sounds very depressing, right? Because this is the reality that we're facing today. Stewart has the capacity to detain about 2,000 people. And as I said, about 94% of the people who are detained there lost their cases. and there is a huge need of for legal representation because they're not giving legal representation pro bono. They had to represent themselves, or they had to just do a pro se, hearing. There are many conditions that are alarming in the detention center. People die in detention centers every year, and as to where there are 3 people who have died because of conditions in this facility, and because the issues that they face every day. Mental health is one of them. Not treatment for mental issues, medical issues. And many other issues that people see in detention. I'm running out of time, but I'll give some time for questions and answers. Our goal is to provide education to people so people understand better what's happening in detention centers and what's happening here in Georgia, and how people can actually get involved and do something to change the reality of immigration detention and support the organizations that are doing this work. I do have some flyers. I underestimated how many people will be here, so I have like 25 flyers, but it has more information about how you can get involved, and the things that we need in our hospitality house, how you can volunteer if you want to bring a group of people to volunteer at the house to help immigrants who stay with us, to visit people in detention, or to donate, and support us in that way so we can pay our bills and continue our service in our hospitality house. So I know I have about 5 minutes for questions, and thank you.
Yes, I was not aware that we had a detention center as close as Lovejoy. That's about 15 minutes from here if you fly.
Correct.
What is that in an old jail? Where did they get
Yeah, it is a U.S. Marshal facility. So it's the county has a contract with this facility. It's a facility run by Geo Group. It's another for-profit corporation.
Another for-profit.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And then I add in the back.
So, I don't know if you knew that we already have a group that's going down to Stewart August 24th.
Okay.
There's about 10 of us that are going to go down. So this is a great precursor for everybody to hear about. The question I want to ask you is, obviously we need some policy that's somewhere between open borders and the type of enforcement we have now. But the rhetoric that's there that sort of characterizes all immigrants as criminals, and the way that feeds into the perception of the issue. Can you talk about really how, obviously there are some criminals in any population, but there are also a lot of law-abiding, trustworthy people in that group. So talk about that in terms of how that's being portrayed and how that affects public perception.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I'm from El Salvador, and when somebody think about, gangs, right? You say you're Mexican, the first thing you hear is about, cartels and drugs. And that's the overall perception that people have. And, the president has used these words to describe immigrants in this way, portraying how, who we are and what it would stand for. And then that's exactly not what it is, right? So people are here, come to the United States. People are not trying to cross the border to sell drugs. People are not coming, here to, join a gang or start a new gang. People are here because they're fleeing persecution. Like, I'm from El Salvador, as I said. El Salvador has a huge problem with gun violence in El Salvador. And then one of the things that we don't, and I briefly mentioned this, we don't talk about the root causes of the issues. The gangs actually were something that were, sorry, somebody's calling me from Stewart. The gangs were actually people who were deported from the United States to El Salvador and initiated the gangs. So it's a problem that came, went from the United States to El Salvador. And then, there's so many issues that we see that sometimes people don't see exactly, what exactly is happening. We know the people that we host in our house. We know the people that we visit in the detention center, and we talk to them. And I think what we try to do is invite folks who might have a different perception of who immigrants are, because you might have that perception and you don't know your neighbors. And you don't know that immigrants are among us. You know, they do, you know, the same things that we do. You know, love, come to IHOP, you know, love to, you know, take their kids to park. You know, they do the similar things that we do. And things like when we try to portray people as a different, and not recognizing their full humanity, that's something wrong with our sense of, you know, who we are as a human, you know, race, right? So I think it's important to breaking down those barriers and allow people to have relationships and build connections, and build bridges, right? And have opportunities to understand each other better. Yes, we can have different political opinions, but that doesn't take away your humanity. That doesn't take away who you are as a person. And so what we try to do at Refugio is to bring people to the detention center. If you have a different idea on this issue, come and talk to someone who is on the other side of the glass. And they can tell you their story. They can tell exactly what is it that they're facing and how our policies affecting them. And I think that's the most powerful thing that we can do, establishing those relationships and allow people to kind of banish those ideas of, you know, they're different or they're criminals or they're detained in this place because they are, you know, they did something wrong. Because the things that we're doing is trying to make a living and support our families, and that's not a criminal act, right? That's what we all do, right? So if you call that a criminal act, well, more people should be in detention centers, right? I know there were a few more hints over here. Yes.
You had mentioned that Georgia is the fourth largest holder of detainees, and that Gwinnett is a source of 20% of the deportees in the whole country.
Correct, because the 287G program, close collaboration with Immigration Customs Enforcement.
So we created this, our local government and policies.
You know, I probably don't have much time to explain how everything works, but it's a section under the Immigration National Act that has this provision on collaboration with the federal government on immigration issues. So it's not anything that is mandated. It's something that is suggested. Like the government come and suggest the county, you know, to work with them on this. But it's not something that, you know, counties are obligated to do. It's totally, you know, up to their will. They don't have to do that. But, you know, of course, you know, many counties do this. And the other thing is, like, they don't get funding for this. They get the training, the officer get training to act as an immigration officer when someone comes to their facility, but they don't get funding. So Georgia is actually spending a lot of money to detain and put people in detention centers. There were a few more hands.
Let me elaborate. Most county commissioners don't necessarily take a position on it. It's the sheriff. The sheriff is a constitutional officer. And being a constitutional officer, that's a political statement of some sort, generates some revenues, as does any detention with federal dollars or local dollars. All the counties take in inmates, and there's a fee for that. But a lot of the sheriffs take it on a political position, and that he's very proud of himself about being able to detain immigrants.
I know I don't have much time, so maybe one more question, 2 more questions.
Real quick, are all 4 of the detention centers in Georgia for profit?
Yes, 4 of them, who are in Georgia are for profit, correct. And there was one more in the back, I think, okay, over here, and that's it.
My question was just about the legal representation. What are you guys doing about that? Because I really think that's a travesty. I mean, that is
Yeah,
one
it
of
is.
the things that we pride ourselves on, to treat everyone fairly, and that's totally unfair.
It is. I mean, there are, right now, SPLC, the Southern Public Law Center, is providing pro bono representation for people. At Stewart, we don't have the capacity, we don't have attorneys who work with an organization. We're a very small organization, and we can focus on those 3 things: offering hospitality, visiting people, and educating people about it, about immigration detention. But there are efforts to to provide more support, but it's more needed. I mean, we have, if you know any attorney, doesn't have to be immigration attorney, SPLC can train attorneys to represent people or to volunteer with their program and do interpretation, providing support in the cases. So, I mean, I know they are always looking for more volunteers to do that work.
I just would like to shout out to Catherine back here, because she is a volunteer for the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Awesome. Okay.
And El Refugio does help because I stayed at El Refugio that week, and without that assistance from El Refugio, it would have been out of my pocket. And because I was able to stay there for free, I was able to volunteer for a whole week. So
Yeah, and we're so happy to provide that hospitality to attorneys who come and do volunteer work with SPLC, and that's part of the collaboration we do. And we collaborate with other organizations as well. There are many organizations that have time invested in the store and trying to do more to shut down the store, right? So there is an organizing group that doing that work. We are focused on serving people, but what we need to do is actually, get rid of the tension out of it. So I was told that I have a few more minutes, so I can take 2 more questions maybe. Yes.
I know you can't speak for all of the countries where the refugees are escaping from, but in the case of El Salvador, what do you think the United States could do to make it less likely, to make it safer for the people, so they don't have to flee their own country? So what do you think the policy should be from the United States? What do you think we could do in relationship to El Salvador, for instance?
Yeah, and I'll speak in my personal opinion here. First thing I think the United States should do is not cut aid to the United States, which is what the administration is doing right now, cutting support that is going to support organizations that are trying to do some training locally so people actually don't have to leave their homelands. I think that's the first thing to do. I mean, the issue is so big that there is so many things that support from abroad from the United States can do to allow people not to leave the country, provide training, invest in education, in security and safety. Not investing, sometimes the money goes to, more repression, and that doesn't help. But our programs that work are programs that train people, train young folks, that most of the times are really targeted by the gangs because there is nothing, for them to do. And then they join gangs and they join these criminal activity groups most of the times because there is not any other group there, and there is no training, there is no support. So I think that is first thing we should do is provide more support in that case, and of course, there are other things that can be done in the long run to improve the life of the people in El Salvador, providing more technical support, providing more support in terms of safety in our community. I think that is really important to do.
I'll ask another question if nobody else is. So this is kind of a follow-up on Kevin's question. I think a lot of Americans feel like, why is our responsibility? And so my question is, there's a long history of the United States relationship with Central America, funding regimes that have been caused a lot of the problems, dictatorships, our military and our CIA being involved in that. Do you think that Americans are aware of that, of the degree to which our country has impacted the governments and the people there? And I think it's important because it speaks to whether we have a responsibility to try to help, not only because it affects us because of the immigrants coming, but because we had a role in the situation that's there now. Also, maybe demand for drugs is another piece of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long piece. I think that's a long question. I think, I agree. Some people are not aware of the involvement in the United States. I did have a slide. I kind of skipped that. in terms of, maybe I didn't. Anyway, maybe I skipped that one. So El Salvador was in the 12-year civil war. The United States supported the civil war, sending troops, training troops here in the United States that committed so many atrocities in El Salvador, and that happened in Honduras. El Salvador, the United States was involved also in the coup in Honduras as well, 2009. Happened through the 80s and 70s throughout Latin America, Nicaragua, Chile. So, we need to understand, again, what is it in the involvement in the United States and what responsibility this country has in all the issues that had caused, more poverty, destructions, and the economic policies that sometimes our countries are forced to make just so because they, align with the United States ideal. For example, in El Salvador, after the Civil War, there were so many economic policies that were implemented, and most of the times were because the United States forced those countries to do that, and those were like privatization of public institutions. They were provided some support, but only to people who have land, and those who are wealthy, right? So the ones who got our benefit from that. I think it's like we definitely need to see our history and how our involvement throughout the world. We talk about refugees and we talk about the Muslim ban. Well, people come here because we are there, right? The United States is all over the world, and that's the main reason why people are actually fleeing from their homelands. The other thing that we haven't not even touched is the reality of climate change. That people are actually will continue to leave their homelands because now they're affected by what we as a whole are doing to affect the climate. And we probably don't see it here because we have AC, but people feel, people in developing countries really feel that impact, and more people will continue to leave their homelands. So I'll be happy to stay and talk more about these things. If I have some more flyers, so I'll stay a few minutes. Yes.
I don't have.
No, it's me.
I just have a statement. The current administration says all these people at the border are illegal aliens. It is absolutely legal to apply for asylum in the United States. And we all need to help people understand it is absolutely legal to apply for asylum in the United States.
It is.
I had my say.
That's all right. I spent over 30 years defending this country as a democracy. Location where people will come to. Heck, my earliest ancestor was a refugee who came to Virginia back in 1700. So I know what this country is or is supposed to be. Yeah. And I've got to tell you, it's going the wrong way right now. Yeah. And there's only one thing that we can absolutely do, even one of us in here can do, and that is get out there and vote for the Democratic candidate, whoever it is, come 2020. And I just pray that we do that. In the meantime, though, that jail, and you keep calling the detention center, it is a jail, it is a prison. If you've ever been there and seen it, they've got more barbed wire than they got at Fort Leavenworth, for goodness sake. They're taking people who are asylum seekers, survivors, women and children, treating them like felons, as if they were convicted already, and of course most of them are not. There are a few, and those ought to go to real hardcore prisons. But the vast majority are normal people who are looking for a way to improve their lives or take care of their children. And again, that's what I did for 30 years. I thought, and I can't bear to see it turn the other way, which is what's happening right now today. So please get out there and vote, and in the meantime, support this operation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much for the passionate discussion and the updates. I think everyone in here can agree just how important these issues are, and that's why we come together and hear all sides of it and exactly what's going on with this current crisis. Thanks again. Our next, one thing I wanted that I didn't mention earlier. Do we have any guests for the first time here today? Oh, well, welcome. Could you stand up and tell us your name, please? Give us your name.
I'm Jonquil Peters. This is my first time here. I am the former mayor of East Point.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you come and participate with us. Thank you very much. Let's see, FDW, is Perlene?
She had to leave. I will,
Would you come up and give us, I didn't see. Hold on a second.
Come on, I brought the microphone all the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Please use
Here you go.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm not Perlene. I'm Susan Sampson. I am two things, well, more than two things, but as a member of Fayette Democratic Women, I would like to invite anybody who would like to come. We meet on the third Saturday of every month at 1 o'clock from 1 to 3 at the Heritage Bank. This month, we are going to have Adrienne White, who is in charge of the candidate recruitment for Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. So, the Democratic Party of Georgia, thank you, Okechi. And she'll speak about candidate recruitment. So that would be next Saturday, 1 to 3 at the Heritage Bank. Also, I manage the office down here on 185 Kathy Avenue. And today, we are so happy to have an office, and I am going to be looking for people to staff our office. We're losing a couple of people to California. Lucky them, they get to go there in nice progressive California. But I will be having some training sessions. Please watch the newsletter, watch Facebook, watch all of our social media. I'll let you know when those training sessions will be. We'd love to have you come in and put a couple hours a week in. Would everybody who already works in the office raise your hand, please, just so we can see you? Yay! Thank you all. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't tell you how what a pleasure it is to go down to the office and see everyone at work and the volunteers and ism that's going on there. And we'd encourage everybody to drop by and participate. I just got a note here just to remind everyone that the County Board of Commissioners filled vacancies on the Planning Commission, and one of our members, Arnold. Is that correct?
Yes.
Arnold Martin was appointed?
Arnold was returned to the planning commission.
Okay, great. That's great. Well, we're down to announcements. Any of our leaders? Kevin, Charles, Mayor, is Mayor? Anybody have anything they'd like to? Oh, Senator, I'm sorry, I didn't see you come in today. Thank you. All right. Is there anything you'd like to enlighten us on today?
Well, I'm always here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And it's a joy. I tell you, you all make me feel like I can go another term. It is so tough being in the legislature these days. It has become so mean, and most of you already know the governor signed the abortion bill, and Alabama's over there fighting, and because I'm a part of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, we are trying to come together for all of these different states that are trying to, mimic what we're doing. But I do want to report, it's going to be litigated. So it's going to be litigated. So we are out there working, trying, and fighting on everybody's in Georgia's behalf. A little bit about the detention centers. Any of you know Mayor Ted Terry? Yeah. He's doing some phenomenal things with that sanctuary cities he has over there. And we could just copy some of that. if some of the things that he's already gone through legally to do some of the things that he are doing, that will help tremendously, I think, if we can do it like we do an elephant. How do you eat it?
One bite at a time.
That's so smart. But those are the kinds of things that's got to start at the grassroots level and branch out. I mean, when we try to eat off too much and we lose, we feel defeated. But if we start, on a smaller level and we start getting some gains, then we are growing where we're trying to go. I can't thank the volunteers enough. We can't do what we do if we didn't have volunteers. I too am so proud of the office we have down here. And if you aren't giving on a monthly basis, consider doing that so we can keep that office. It is important to have a place to go and know that there is a place to go so that we as Democrats can stay strong. That's some of the fear down under the Golden Dome, is how we are getting stronger. So keep talking about what we're doing. Keep bringing people where we are. Invite them to breakfast. Invite them to the 1 o'clock in the afternoon, next Saturday, the women. Invite them to any and everything so that they can feel a part of the community and be active. More importantly, keep registering voters.
Yes.
We have to keep registering voters. Okay? So, all right, we got that little part. One last thing, and this is personal for me. We in the Senate are required to have 2 fundraisers each year. I use my little birthday to do my fundraiser. I am just not the best at fundraising. I don't like asking for money, but I'm finna ask for a favor, because on my birthday, which is July 6th, put that down, write it down, July 6th, July 6th. And all I am asking is, like this young lady is doing right here, she's been serving you. I too have been serving you. I am asking, because it's my 66th birthday, for $6.60. If you go online to my website and just donate a minimum of you notice I said minimum, of $6.60. And truly, if everybody gave just that $6.60, I'll meet what the Senate has for $6.60 for 66 years of living. But this is my 27th year of serving. So I appreciate and it hadn't all been in the legislature. I did do it, I got on my school board t-shirt, and it does say from, what it say, 1993 to 2000. So I mean, it's adding up is what I mean, not the whole legislature. But do consider that. C for Senate. I am your favorite Georgia State Senator, Valencia C. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
I will follow up on Senator C's suggested that maybe you donate to the headquarters fund. Since I'm the treasurer, I'll let you know that I'm the one to talk to do that. And also just update you that we have about $14,000 in pledges and about $24,000 in costs this year for that, so we can use some more funding. If we don't get it, it's other fundraisers, it's dues that pay for it. We'd like to use that for candidates and activities of the state of the county party. So if you could donate, we could use it. Just let me know. You can do it on a monthly basis. You can do it one-time check, however you want. Just talk to me about it.
And I'll certainly second all of what the Senator and Ed have said. We have a great organization down here. We have a good thing.
Absolutely.
We need to continue to get people to come and participate, because it's essential. Just like the gentleman in the back was talking here earlier, made an impassionate speech, that we as a society need to participate in the next upcoming election, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that happens. Any other announcements?
There's a community day for the North Fayette. It's Fayette County, period, but the North Fayette Community Association. Good morning, I apologize.
You want to come on up?
This is a quick announcement. Having an event next Saturday at Kenwood Park. Kenwood Park, we have secured resources for it. There's a new rubberized track out there. If you haven't been out there, the bathrooms are going in, the new pavilion has been put in, so your resources and tax dollars are being well spent. But starting at 11 a.m., North Fayette Community Association is hosting a community day at Kenwood Park. I continue to receive calls and will provide you with an update with respect to Highway 92 and West Bridge Road. Please continue to put pressure on, it's a GDOT facility for those, or road for those of you all who are not aware of that. However, we continue to have dialogue with them and are continuously pressuring them to do something with that quickly before someone loses their life. But I just want you to know we're cognizant of it and continue to work on it. You will continue to see road resurfacing, all of those things that, since we don't provide grandiose services here in the county, i.e. recreation facilities, things of that nature, our population for seniors are growing. We'll be pushing towards expanding those services, since ARC's projection is that we will continue to be an aging in place community. I'm going to take Gary, Representative Bazemore, Mayor Johnson. I get all their time, so I'm going to continue to sit here and talk. No objection, right? Senator, thank you for this legislative session. We have to fight in this particular so overall. But anyway, those are some of the important things. We are moving into our budget season. This is where we begin to allocate dollars to ensure that the service delivery strategies that we've developed and those that we are mandated to do. The jail is one of them. Court costs and the jails are our highest expenditure. I'm really working hard with my colleagues to shift that mentality, not only to talk about the courts and the jails, but to spend dollars on the front end on the preventive side. How can we do those things to do them better? And so anyway, please participate in the budget discussion. The sheriff has made a plea. Everywhere around the state, they're losing officers to jurisdictions with a higher pay, with better benefits. But we have one advantage here, and I continue to debate that with the sheriff, is the quality of life. The quality of life with respect to the service area. We're not in a combat zone like some of our neighboring jurisdictions are. And so to work here with the citizenry that we have, we are very fortunate. We haven't had an incident that blows up, that what starts out as a minor traffic incident turns into a tragedy. And we're very fortunate that hasn't happened. They're well trained. I support the initiative in its current format to provide our officers with a higher level of pay. And with that comes with a higher level of accountability as well. And so we'll continue to work with them. But I need you all's input on the budget, because one of the things that we'll look at is whether or not we'll change the millage rate or continue to lower that. Those are dollars that can provide for this service. Government, the bottom line, it costs to play this game. You want great services, and it comes at a cost. We try to keep it as low as we possibly can. Kevin and them have already raised taxes. We're late to the ball game.
Actually, we lowered.
But one of the things on the table, whether or not we can lower the millage rate, I'm advocating currently that we look at very seriously keeping it the same, because that will at least get us through this first year of having dollars. The current numbers look like on a $300,000 home, it'll be about $26 per person a year. We wouldn't advocate for that for our public safety officers and the like. So with that, thank you. Feel free to call the office at any time. I'll respond and give you an adequate answer.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Kevin.
Welcome back.
How many people live in Peachtree City? Okay. So for those people who live in Peachtree City, or for those people who come to visit us in Peachtree City and come and spend some money there, you know, we love the sales taxes as well. But as you've seen, we're moving forward in Peachtree City. The roads are improving, the parks are improving. We're spending the money the right way, and it's. To answer my colleague here, we actually lowered the millage rate. However, due to the fact that Peachtree City real estate has increased dramatically. So everybody did see an increase in their actual outlay of money towards the city. So and that was about $8 a month, I think. So we did lower the millage rate, but in order to keep up with our friends here in Fayetteville and our Fayette County Sheriff's Department, we do have a problem with our keeping the best and the brightest of our service personnel, our police and firemen. So we're obviously we'll be raising their pay to keep in step. We don't want to lose all of our good guys to Fayetteville or to the county or to the state.
And the ladies.
Question?
Yes, the mayor's letter, I would ask him as well, what are the chances that Peachtree City would become a sanctuary city, as Senator Shea was talking about? Yes, split, I know.
Well, as an 86% performing Republican district, I wouldn't, I wouldn't hold the breath. But as the Democrat on the city council, I try to do my best in moving, if not to the center, at least get them a little bit off the right boards.
So I
So.
suggest we have Catherine and the gentleman from El Refugio to come and speak to those Republicans. Let's see if they can learn.
A terrific idea. I mean, we can.
They care about human life.
We can get it on the agenda.
6 weeks old.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you had.
Yeah, I think that as Democrats, we need to uphold integrity in everything we say and set an example for that. So when you say the roads are improving in Peachtree City, did you say that before the intersection fell apart in 54?
Well, Georgia 54 and Georgia 74 are state roads. To my 35,000 constituents in Peachtree City, and we have to explain that, okay? We have a little bit of input into what Georgia Department of Transportation, what GDOT does with our state funds as far as attempting to improve the roadways. But when I ran almost 2 years ago, my point was, that's not going to fix. Whatever money you want to throw at that intersection, that's not going to fix it. We need a bypass from Peachtree City on the north side of town and on the south side of town. And until that happens, that intersection is just not going to improve. But for a person who was born and raised in New York City, I get a kick out of people saying, "Oh, the traffic is horrendous." Well, if you know the traffic is going to be horrendous from 5 to 7. Don't go there from 5 to 7, okay? So, unless you absolutely positively have to. So,
Yes. You've got to learn the alternatives in Fayette County.
Yeah.
I don't ever have a problem getting to any place in Fayette County. I know how to get from Fayetteville to the racetrack and not get lost. You've got to learn these alternatives.
We have
Yes,
racetracks.
First of all, keep up the good job in landscaping in Peachtree City on the roads. Secondly, all it would take is a tanker truck to explode at the driveway where our Home Depot and Walmart comes into the main road. You have to go 11 miles out of your way up to Tyrone, or 9 miles out of your way through Sonoy to go west. We need to, at TDK, push that through to Highway 54 at Coweta.
yeah. Well,
That's gotta happen. There's only one way to go west.
Well, TDK is not the solution, because TDK is too close to 5474. It's got to be further south. It's got to be down by the PAC, the Peachtree City Athletic Complex. It's got to be down further, so the people who come in from Coweta, we call them Coetians. The Coetians who come. There's 36,000 cars that pass through that intersection. 29,000 continue into Fayetteville. the 6,000, 7,000 go north to pick up the interstate. Okay, so most of those people are coming to Fayetteville. So we need a bypass. We need Coweta County to agree to widen Minix Road and to Dogwood Trail and to get those roads widened so that people can come to Fayetteville on the north side of Peachtree City and the south side of Peachtree City.
That's too far north if you're going to Dogwood Trail.
Well, if you're going to Fayetteville, go to the north side of Fayetteville, Pinewood Studios, the hospital complex where a lot of people are coming and commuting to work. You know, that's the perfect solution. Or on the south side, they're widening. The state is going to widen 85, and that's going to be an assist into bringing people from Coweta County on the south side of Peachtree City. But TDK won't happen, and I'll be the first one to lay down in front of a bulldozer at TDK. We will not allow that to happen. We will fight that tooth and nail. It certainly won't happen under my watch. TDK is a mile from the 54 sector. So TDK, we need them further south and further north. But you know, we're working with the county as well to improve the road situation. And with the SPLOST that you guys approved, you know, it gives us the money to be able to affect these changes and to improve the roads, improve the intersections, and make everything safer for all of us. So it's happening, and thanks to you, it's happening. So, you know, please keep approving those SPLOSTs. So, any other questions? Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Any other? Garrett, come on up.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey.
Come on up, Garrett.
So Amazon has a whole section of anti-Trump paraphernalia. You really need to check it out. So, hey, the work continues out in the community. The weather is nice again. We did get rained out last month for Earth Day, but the work is continuing. Daryl wants everyone to know they were registering voters in the month of April at the Fayetteville Times Hall. They were also doing it at Clayton State. She's looking for more volunteers because she's got several places scheduled where we're going to register voters here in the month of May and June. So if you want to get into that work, please talk to Daryl Anderson. She is here. She's not really quiet, so I'm not sure why she asked me to tell you this thing, but she did request it. Also, we're going to be on the square in Fayetteville on Sunday, June 9th for the Taste of Fayette. If you came out last year, it was a wildly successful event. Frankly, if you want to have a lot of people show up, feed them. So the Taste of Fayette, people will be out there in droves. We've already registered. We'll have a booth. I am looking for volunteers to join me. I think it's a 5-hour event. So if you want to sit out in the park, meet the community, expose them to the fact that there are Democrats, please let me know and we'll set you up. You don't have to stay out for 5 hours. Usually we split it in half. You do like 2.5, 3 hours at the front end or 2.5, 3 hours at the back end. Also, we're having Thirsty Thursday, the last Thursday in, what month is this? May. We're going to be at the grazing here in Peachtree City, providing some more tax revenue to Mr. Madden and his folks down there.
Man, we appreciate that.
So it's from 5 to 7 at grazing here. It's a great time. It's a great restaurant, and the food is healthy, so you can actually leave there healthier than the way you walked in. The last thing I have is I would like to give a good shout out to those people who populate the earth, the world's mothers. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Thank you for all that you do. And well done.
Thank you very much. Kevin, one more thing?
I just want to put in another commercial for this group. 200 members. You believe that? 200 members. We used to meet in the backseat of his car, so that's why. Fayette County Democratic Committee, we are so successful here, okay, because of all the hard work of all these volunteers. It's real easy to help us keep that office, to help us keep moving forward, okay? Just a credit card And you don't even, you know, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of money. I'm still paying off college loans from my two brats, my wonderful children. But, you know, $25 a month. You spend more than that at Starbucks. Okay, so $25 a month. You put it on the credit card. You don't even know you get the bills. Oh yeah, okay. So, and then you feel good about it. Okay. Plus, they have a sustained budget. They know the money that's coming in, and you see we're going to have a $10,000 shortfall. I mean, really, $25. You put it on the credit card. You won't even miss it. Okay. But we need that headquarters. We need a place where we can all get together. We can support our candidates and change this country. You know. We take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This whole heartbeat, you know, Georgia to go back to the 50s. You know, it boggles my mind. Okay, let's take back our county. Let's take back our cities. Let's take back our state. Okay, and it starts with a little bit from everybody. Okay, we don't have to give $10,000, although that would be nice. You know, if you could write a check for $10,000. But $20 or $30 every single month that helps us help us. So please, thank you.
Ernie, is there anything?
Yes, when I started this party 29 years ago, I never dreamt I would have this many people here. It brings tears to my eyes to see this group get together and get it. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, if there's not anything else, wish all the moms out there tomorrow happy Mother's Day. Thank you very much for your participation. Don't forget about our service, as we said earlier here.